Good, right? Yes. Yep. All right, I'll call the meeting of the General Government and Finance Committee to order at 6:15 p.m. This meeting has been given public notice in accordance with sections 19.83 and 19.84 Wisconsin statutes in such form that will apprise the general public and news media of subject matter that is intended for consideration and action. Roll call. All members are present. With that, we'll move on to item 3, which is approval of the minutes of May 17th, 2021.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second for the approval of minutes. Any questions? If not, we'll vote. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public comment. Is there anyone here for public comment? I don't see anyone and nobody online. All right. We'll move right into new business. Item A, Kiwanis of Germantown Picnic License, Temporary Class B Fermented Malt Beverage and Wine License for Taste of Germantown, July 22nd, 2021 in Fireman's Park.
I'll second.
I have a motion to approve. Any comments? Not, we'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item B, Kiwanis of Germantown Picnic License, Temporary Class B Fermented Malt Beverage and Wine License for Independence Day, July 4th, Fireman's Park, approximately 4 p.m. to 10 p.m.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second for item B. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item C, oh, oops, it's a short item. Item C, Kiwanis of Germantown Fireworks User Permit, July 4th, Fireman's Park, Lynn Gergich Operator, Wolverine Fireworks Display.
Motion to approve new business C. I'll second.
All right, we have a motion to approve item C. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. With that, we will move on to item D, which is 2020 year end. Who's got this one?
So what is in your packet is the 2020 preliminary numbers. Just this past week, I worked with one of the auditors from Baker Tilly trying to finish 2020. And you'll see the results from the general fund showing on page 28. It does show a surplus of $368,000 at this time, which you'll want to be aware of when it comes to the next part, the carryover items that Matthew's put together. Right now, these are preliminary, and I have sent them on to another auditor just today for review, just to give you an idea of where things are at. To add.
I guess what I would add is the village clerk treasurer, Deanna and her team, as well as a number of other village staff, our budget manager, others have worked very diligently on persevering through the close. It's been a real challenge this year with our finance staff retiring at the end of the year. There have been some challenges in just trying to pin down all of the transaction details and make sure all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. I think we're pretty close to some final numbers here that we wanted to bring them back to the village board. There is going to be a carryover request that would reduce this number by whatever the village board decides to carry forward from 2020 into 2021. So that will have an impact as well. And again, just wanted to recognize and thank the staff that worked very hard on getting all of this done and working on some process improvements in finance. And you see the report here today, but just an awful lot of hard work went into making that happen.
Question.
Yes, Dennis?
Steve, your last remark was that the board might reduce what is for us? Is that correct?
So the balance on the, yes, the balance on the report here is $368,022. That is before carryovers. So on the next item, the staff will be recommending some carryovers, and whatever the village board approves for carryovers will reduce this this general fund balance by an equal amount.
Steve, just from my own knowledge, when you're talking the carryovers, is that, and that's brought into 2021, how does that shown on the financial statements that come forward? Does it add to the budget item? Does it just a one line item, or?
It would, if any carry forwards that are approved, and maybe just backing up a little bit for some of the folks who might be watching, what a carryover is that in some cases, money that's budgeted in one year for a variety of reasons may not be spent during that year. So, for example, we have lawnmowers in the list of carryovers. Last year, the village board held the purchase of those because of COVID. We weren't sure if we would and be able to balance the budget during the year. And they said, well, we don't have to purchase these lawnmowers. We're going to hold on to those. And if we have enough money, then we'll consider carrying those forward into the year. So that's what we're doing here. The way that would be reflected is technically the 2021 budget would be amended. So there's the 2021 adopted budget, and then would be amended by the amount of the carryover. And not getting too deep into the weeds, but there are tables in the annual financial report that reconcile the budget to the actuals. And if you wanted to track this in the future, you could go to those budget reconciliation tables, and they would show the details of that.
Thank you.
I think it's probably important to mention a little bit about the accruals. So the way I understand it is that the previous finance director did accruals one type of way, and it may not have had as much detail as, I'm not saying what is needed, but a little more difficult to reconcile. So.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We struggled this year completing the accruals. So one of the steps that complicates the year-end close is there are a number of things that might be ordered or even received in say October, November, December. And those are things that should be paid for out of the 2020 budget. But we don't necessarily get the invoices for those costs until January, February, or even into March. That's what Trustee Miller stated is correct. So the process should be that we should accrue those expenses, and then when the invoice comes in, we can charge that invoice against the accrual. So it's a way of making sure that the expenses are recorded against the correct year. That was a process that we struggled with, that reconciliation. We really, all the way up until about last week, we did bring in some extra assistance from Baker Tilly, an accountant who has worked through issues like this before, but it was a real challenge just to make sure that when those invoices were paid, they were charged correctly against the accruals, and finding the records, the details, was very time consuming and challenging.
Well, you'll have a different process next year to do this?
Yeah. I think it's fair to say we've really learned a lot over the past 6 months of going through these closings. We're still learning. That we actually met on it today, just as Deanna and Erin in her new role, and Matthew, who's new. And I think throughout this year, anytime you have a turnover like this, where we lost the entire finance department, within a few months of each other. And anytime you have that kind of turnover, it creates some challenges. So we're finding issues this year. We're working on fixing them and making things better for next year. And there will be some other changes and things that we've learned that we'll be bringing back to the committee and to the board later this summer and this fall to try to make this process a little bit easier and seamless next year.
Detail.
Yeah. All right, any other discussion? Since it's preliminary, we're not taking any action tonight, right? Good, thank you. Let's move on to the 2020 carryover items. And we have is this the updated sheet on our?
When the light turns off, you know it's on.
Hi, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Matthew Uselding. I'm the budget manager. Tomorrow will be officially my third month here. So this is only, I think, the second meeting I've been able to attend. I'm on our local school board, and we've been hiring a superintendent, so it's taken up a lot of my nights. But what you have in front of you is the recommended 2021 carryover. Kind of going through the list here. The first couple are for the community development, planning, and inspection department. The biggest one here being the 2050 comp plan that we've been working on. The buildings and grounds, highway department, and parks. Those were all actually budgeted carryovers. Looking at the budget that was done for 2021, the previous finance director had allocated those amounts to be carried over. And then finally, at the bottom, you have recreation, which is $30,000 for picnic tables, for a total of $449,000. That would reduce the 1 year-end number by that amount.
Yes, trustee Meyer.
Yeah.
Matthew, where would I find the asphalt carryover?
Yeah, so in terms of Fund 40, I'm still working through some of those year-end numbers and getting those updated. I do have the total for Fund 40. It's on pages 57 of your packet. Will be the last page of Fund 40. Right now, there's a total balance of 1.27 million that is recommended to be carried over, and then I'm working through those line item budgets. Most of that is the DPW building, which has it's about 900,000 of that 1.2 million.
Do you have a individual breakdown that you originally have that I could go over maybe another day with you?
Yeah, I don't have one currently, but I can definitely get that out and get that detail to you. I'm still working through which projects are.
No, that's fine. I'll speak to you another day and we'll set something up. Thank you.
Yep.
If I could add just for some additional clarity too, there was another account that was held, and just because I have some of the history on this, for COVID-related reasons, the crack filling and seal coating of some $300,000. That is not on the carryover list, and I'm not sure if that was
That was one of the items, yes, Steve.
Yeah, that one is not on the carryover list, and for the simple reason that there was not enough funding in the projected surplus from 2020 to carry it over. If we carried over that 300,000 plus this 200,000, we would end up in the red for 2020. So there just weren't enough funds available to do that carry forward as well as these items.
Is that somewhat projected in regard to the seal coating, in regard to the amount that would be done for this year? Keeping in mind that we didn't have enough?
We still budgeted the usual amount in 2021 for crack filling and seal coating. So I believe that's about $300,000 that was budgeted in 21. And that money will be spent, but there won't be additional money as a carryover from 2020.
Thanks for explaining that, Steve.
Are there any other specifics you were looking for?
No.
I know that was one of the major ones.
Well, that was one of them, but the actual asphalt itself per se, but I can go over that with you another day. Thank you. Sure.
Right, and same thing here, this is preliminary,
Um,
or is this the recommended?
This is recommended. I think even though the year-end balance is not final, there still are some items that are under review. Those are items, and Deanna, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we were looking at things that might swing at $10,000 or less. It was a few $1,000s here or there that could swing. So this would allow, for example, picnic tables, lawnmowers, if this is approved by the committee and the village board, then we could get started with purchasing those items and moving ahead with that.
With that, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to accept the 210,449.
For the carryovers?
Yes, thank you.
All right, we have a motion to approve the carryovers for $210,449 and nothing on, I mean, everything on this list, correct? Any other discussion? Not, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, item F, Associated Appraisal Consultants, additional scope of services for 2022 interim market update revaluation.
This is my item. We completed the Board of Review for the Village of Germantown. And in doing so, it was discussed that we are already at a 93% level after going through the revaluation in 2019. So rather than going backwards, this was an item to allow the village to continue with an interim market update while still maintaining the current records. So this is what the assessor has suggested as far as keeping the valuation at 100% or as close thereto. So that's what this item is for, and it would be for an additional $50,000 in the 2022 budget, along with their normal contract amount of $85,000 per year.
Motion to approve the 50,000 for item F.
All right, we have a motion to approve. Discussion? Nope, no question.
No, Terry had a question.
Bill?
You want to go first or you want me to? I guess when I looked at this, my only question would be is why did things, and I know the real estate market has been very changing very rapidly, but why did they give an exact reason as to why we're down to 93% that quickly? And also, what is the state or whatever, where do they normally recommend when you get down to a certain level, you have to go through a reassessment?
They'll let you get quite low before they recommend that you go through revaluation. You are correct. And it is due to the market that we're at right now and the way the market is selling. It's a much different market today than it was in 2019. And I feel fortunate we did not go through the revaluation process in 2020, but I don't want to slide backwards. So it's up to the general government and finance and village board if you want to go through with this, but I did want to bring it forward. If you want to keep it at 100%.
Because my only thinking is, in essence, we're already throwing an additional 50 into a budget that we know nothing about. 22, that bothers me a little bit. If it were coming at the time you're doing the work on the budget, I couldn't wait that long, and to spend 135, because at some point in time, it's cheaper to have your own employee doing it versus having, is it associate appraisals?
Yeah.
I see the value of staying current, but I also see the cost of it. And I'm not saying their cost is out of line, but we're asking for something that a budget hasn't even been created, and who knows if we're going to need somewhere in that budget than this.
And I can make a remark for history-wise for you, Bill. We were way down in numbers for many, many years in regard to our appraisals and so on with the companies that we had per se. And it took some time for this company to get it up to where we are right now. To go anything in the opposite direction, I am totally against. I don't want to see us keep in this particular part. As far as 85,000, that I think has been, you could correct me, Deanna, but I think that's the amount that we have been paying for the last 2 years.
Correct, and then the contract will end next October of 2022.
Right. I think that was a 3-year contract, Steve?
Correct.
And as far as the 50,000 goes, as far as you budget for it, just like anything else. Out of $50,000, considering the total budget that we have, to me, this is going in the right direction to continue.
Trustee Kaminsky.
I think I had the same concerns, that do we want to spend this money now? Are we feeling real confident this year? Their budget for 2021? Or are we going to have some surprises down the line? Do we need to commit to this right now? And to me, I guess the 93% didn't sound impossibly bad either. If it were like 89%, 85%, I think I might be more concerned. But where were we at last time? If you could, does anybody remember, do a review of the disaster there?
Actually, it was in the 70s, to be honest with you. And then when it
Okay.
went to the DOR, they actually chastised the company that we had previously for 1 year. They couldn't end up doing any work. It was a lot of work to get us back to where we
70s.
are.
So what is the norm? If we, like you said, below 90, people jump on board, or and how much worse do you think it could get in 1 year? I mean, the real estate market right now is really weird.
Well, and first of all, I really do understand and appreciate the concerns with the budget for 22. And I think it is going to be a challenging budget for a lot of reasons. I mean, no budget is ever easy, but it is going to be a challenge. I would say, and I believe we could hold off on this action until budget time. Our contract is through the end of the year, so that would be one option for the committee and the board. I would also, though, add to that I think this should be a priority when we're budgeting. A lot of times people don't think about assessments as a service, but it is one of the most important services, in my opinion, that municipal governments provide. And the market is changing so quickly that 93% could very easily shift, dramatically over the next 12 months. And I think as you all well remember, going through this the last time, then you have people whose tax bills are moving dramatically. And some people are going up and some people are going down. It all averages out. But, and I would be the same way if it was my taxes, but for the folks who are their tax bills are going up because of the reassessments, they're here and they're upset and all of that, and rightfully so. And you don't necessarily hear from the folks whose tax bills are going down because of the reassessments. So I think it is very important to get on a schedule and to try to maintain it. And we'll have to try to find a way to fit it in the budget. And if I can't tell you exactly how right now, and as staff, we can't do that. So if you would feel more comfortable deferring this until the fall, till the budget process, that's certainly an option. And we'll try to find a way to prioritize and get this in the budget.
My motion, please.
I don't know if that's the right protocol. is it?
I don't,
Can you do that?
Can.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, how many people were?
One at Board of Review, and there are a number of property owners that work out their details with the assessor prior to Board of Review, and how many that talked to him beforehand, I do not know. But we did have one here at Board of Review.
I'm fine with keeping it in the fall. I mean, that does make sense since our contract with them isn't up until 2022. It doesn't really affect our maintenance portion of it, but it's the revaluation. Second thing I would say is that when you have a growth like we're having right now, there's quite a few new homes. You start getting an imbalance faster than when you're stagnant. And that's really the importance of the revaluation is the imbalance that happens. You have houses that are overvalued, you have houses that are undervalued. You got to bring those back level. And that is happening faster right now. I looked at item B or option B, and that's to do a evaluation or a revaluation every other year. And I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't probably go with that one. But I can see, I mean, before this, we didn't have and this additional 50,000 is a book valuation, right? This isn't house to house like we just had. Okay, just trying to get all the facts. So, well, we don't have a motion anymore, so I guess we're going to.
My motion, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
is for the fact that I didn't hear until the contract wasn't going to end until the end of this year. That makes more sense, as what Bill had brought up.
Could do a motion to postpone. Just leave it. All right, we'll just leave it. All right, there's no unfinished business, so with that, we'll move to reports. Revenue and expense report is first. Any questions, any comments?
One question is on the expense reports, it has monthly amount and what was budgeted for the budget, the other budget amount in that, is that a year-to-date budget amount or is that for the entire year?
So the very end number, that is the year-to-date actual, all of the months together for actual. The column before that is budget amount.
Total amount for the year.
But we don't have a budget, what would be budgeted just through the month of May?
So fiscal year
So, yeah,
budget
so
year to
like-
date?
So a 12-month spread would
Right.
have the 5 months, whatever.
So the very first column shows what the MSI calculates as just the May portion, so to speak.
Is it possible to get column in?
It actually,
That's a whole nother issue that'll be coming up.
You know, it's sometimes good to see,
Yeah.
you know, you look at a budget, you look at an actual year-to-date, and then what was budgeted year-to-date, it's easy going off than budget. I'm trying to make anybody.
No, I don't
I'm not
disagree
trying to
with
make
you.
it extra work, but I know all it is probably just a click of a column, and does it come in?
well, unfortunately, no. You know, and actually, I'm glad you brought it up. It's one of the things that we will be talking to the committee and the board about going forward. The system that generates these reports, it's a software program called MSI, which the village has had. I don't know, we've got an exact date, but I think over 20 years. And it is, just to give you an example why it's difficult to fulfill your request, it's written in COBOL, and it's a little bit cumbersome. The reporting functionality is not real good. And it is something we're looking at, like how can we upgrade that? Because there are some things like that I think we'd like to be able to do.
I understand, I'm just.
But it's a good request, and I wish we could do that a little bit easier.
Yes, Terry.
On page 120, the engineering fees obviously are significantly over budget, but I do believe this is accounted for or will be offset by not having hired a village engineer. Am I correct? So is that going to be, are we still predicting it kind of be a wash or going to be within budget on this ultimately?
I believe we'll be in budget and engineering. There are actually 2 engineering positions that are currently vacant. Actually, there is a third, since we did have someone else leave in May. So there are 3 positions vacant in engineering, and I haven't gotten, I need to update those numbers and go through with the Public Works Director, but the last time that we did go through and checked on it, it looked like we would be on budget, and I believe that that'll still be the case. I would also say that that my sense is that that we're slowing down a little bit in the number of engineering hours, the general engineering, as we've got some of the paving projects and things underway. So we're catching up a little bit in the work.
We have nothing else. We'll go to health and dental plans. Trending okay?
I'll touch base on this one. This is going to be an area of concern, not for 2021, but for 2022. We did have a meeting with our benefits consultant and went through some of the analytics for this year. For those trustees who were here last year in the prior year, we've struggled with large cases. We're self-insured, and we've had a number of large cases, and that continues to be an issue. I think that we will have more in claims than we budgeted for this year based on the first few months. We do have, the village has a reserve of $800,000 or $900,000 for claims, and anything above budget will be paid for out of that reserve. But it's something we'll have to address in the 22 budget. And that's, we have been working on some plan design changes, some ways to try to improve our numbers. And from a timeline perspective, we're looking at bringing those back to GGF in August, and then having that discussion as part of the budget.
Go ahead, Terry, because I think we're both on the same page, I'm guessing. Go ahead.
All 3.
I guess moving forward and looking at this for the budget year, so good to be self-insured. What are other
That's what I was
communities
gonna ask.
doing?
That's actually another conversation that we've been having internally. If you recall, we had our consultant make a presentation this spring to GGF. We looked at the potential of joining the state system. I think that the consultant pointed out that there may be some issues with that, and the provider network that's available in Washington County and the Germantown area is limited, and that may present some challenges for going that option. When it comes to going self-insured versus a fully insured product, and I've had some experience in other organizations doing this as well, and I think it's another good question to ask our consultant, the expert in the area. But what drives our cost is the number of claims and the health and the wellness of our employees and others who are covered under our plans. And if we were to go out for proposals for a fully insured health insurance product, they're going to look at these numbers, and their actuaries are going to come up with something where we're basically paying the same or a similar amount. We might get a discount the first year or two to try to attract the business, but generally, they're going to see the same things that we're all looking at here, and they're going to price this the same way.
Was that?
That was actually, it was indirectly, as Terry had mentioned, I'm curious, how many cases do we have right now? We still have 5 cases that,
I want to say it was 6. I
6?
don't know. That, yeah.
because we should have had one less just recently, unless we added an additional one per se. So, thank you.
All right, anything further with health and dental plans? Thanks for the background on that. If not, we'll go to impact fees.
And so what's included in your packet, this is a report that's pulled straight off the MSI financial software showing where we're at with each impact fee. It says at the top if it's police impact fee, fire, library, or park. It tells you right at the top if you can see that.
Discussion on the impact fees. Accounts payable, we have quite a few. May 21st, May 28th, June 4th, and June 11th. Guess that's a month, isn't it? Any discussion, questions? Right. Debt payment report.
The new payment is at the bottom of the report showing the water system bond that was, a portion of that payment was made.
Anything on that? No. Code violations. Community development side.
I don't believe there are any new items on here from the last meeting. There were several that were added in early May, 3 of them that are open and working their way through the process. Any other questions I can do my best to address?
All right. CIP projects? No report for that?
Well, it's actually in the budget to actual for May, and I don't have a link set up on that. It just gives you some totals of where some items are at. It starts on page 146 of the packet or page 45 of the actual report.
Okay. So instead of doing a separate report, we're just going to do it on the budget.
It gives you the information, the dollars of what is there.
Is there a way that you can identify that at the top in the future?
I could go back to the spreadsheet we were doing before and work with Matthew on.
I kind of liked it that way,
You liked
speaking for
it the other way?
myself.
Okay.
And it's
do
all in
that.
one place.
Like the snapshot of the.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, letter of credit summaries for Public Works first. Any changes?
No big changes there. And nothing coming up until November.
On both?
Um,
Letter of credits, community development as well.
Under planning and zoning, the next one is August 1st.
Oh yeah, I see it.
That's an automatic renewal. So if there's no changes, it automatically renews unless it's released.
Okay. Nothing else there, then finally, the summary of contracts.
Not many changes here. This is generally kind of a slow time of the year for contracts. Most of them are the first few months of the year, and then the last month or so of the year as we try to get things in place before the end of the budget. But yeah, nothing new to report on this report.
Okay, yeah, a lot of them are at end of the year.
Yep.
Okay, with that, we're through all the agenda items. We'll schedule the next meeting, which will be,
July 19th.
that I got a calendar. July 19th, is everyone available for that?
Not be available, I'll be on vacation that week.
Okay with July 19th, are both of you?
I'm as well.
Okay. We'll still have a quorum. So we'll schedule it for July 19th, if that's okay with you,
Sure.
Question, Mr. Chairman.
6 PM. Go ahead.
Steve, I understand we have a new resource person.
Yeah, actually, we have
Will you
Aaron Hearn.
introduce?
Yeah, I did, and I
Oh, I missed it when I
apologize.
wasn't here.
Yeah, that's
Sorry
all right, that's all right. And
Bye.
I'll introduce her again for the full village board meeting, but we have Aaron Hearn, who's our new support
Welcome to
services
Germantown.
manager. Aaron is coming to us from Mineral Point and also was an assistant administrator with Brown Deer. So she has a lot of experience.
Oh, dear.
And I think
That's
will
interesting.
be a great help and a great resource for us here at the village. So we're excited to have her.
Great. All right, with that, we'll adjourn the meeting at 6:57 PM. Thank you.